Welcome to SVG-TV News for Thursday, March 30th, 2023. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Vincentian taxpayers are encouraged to file their income tax returns by tomorrow, Friday, March 31st, 2023. The encouragement comes from Comptroller of the Inland Revenue Department, Kelvin Pompey, during a telephone interview with SVG-TV News today.
March is the deadline for filing returns for employees, that is persons who not operated a business or who earned salary during 2022. They're due to file by end of day tomorrow. Additionally, unincorporated businesses, the small traders, professionals, self-employed persons, they are also due to file tomorrow, as well as companies with a December year end. They're all due to file by 31st March. Tomorrow is also the deadline for the payment of estimated taxes, liquor license. Of course, we know we also have the driver's license and the motor vehicle license with last digit 3. So we anticipate that tomorrow is going to be an extremely busy day, as has been most of this week. To date, we are quite pleased, I think, with the response, especially from employees. We have been getting the returns in, and I think we are seem poised to go over the normal average amount of GIT returns that we normally would get, that is personal income tax.
Pompey expressed the importance of filing taxes early, noting that unpaid taxes can attract interest and penalty.
We receive salaries on a monthly basis. It's at the end of the year that you're in a position to know whether or not you have a refund or a payable or a nil return. In the case of a refund, you have to fill the form out and send it in order for the department to make an assessment and determine that too much taxes basically was deducted from your salary. And also, in the case of a payable, that is, it turns out that you're owing. It's important that you file on time, because the unpaid taxes begin to attract interest from the 1st of April. And also there is a late penalty fee of $20 per month, along with interest of 1.5% on a monthly basis for taxes that are outstanding.
The Inland Revenue Comptroller said they have put systems in place to accommodate everyone who comes to the department tomorrow to file their taxes.
We know and anticipate that tomorrow is going to be extremely busy, because we have the licensing, which is at end of month, coinciding with filing period. And we have been running, I think, for most of this week so far, and have prepared, in excess of 12 persons taking cash. And all of our officers, essentially tomorrow, would be on taxpayer assistance mode. And so we are prepared, because this is what we do, this is what we are accustomed to, in terms of ensuring that taxpayers are given quality customer service to enable them to file and to comply with the legislation. As we say here at Inland Revenue, to make your taxes less taxing, ask how comply now. So I anticipate that persons are going to come, meet long lines, yes, but at the same time, the systems that we have put in place will ensure that they are efficiently dealt with.
On delinquent taxpayers, Pompey said there are persons who still fail to comply. However, they are gathering information on non-compliant persons, as it is important for everyone to pay their taxes and comply with the law.
We still have persons who are delinquent. Despite our outreach efforts over the years, I think there are some persons who are not complying still, and not because they have not been informed or made aware of their obligations, but I think basically they have taken a decision that if the tax department doesn't find them, that they are not going to comply. And so our efforts are now geared towards gathering intelligence on different taxpayers. We are working with different agencies and private institutions who may have information on taxpayers. We have been asking businesses and so to send in information to us as to who they pay monies to for services, etc. And it is a small island, and I think very slowly we are in a position more and more to identify those who are non-compliant. Unfortunately, most of our taxpayers are highly compliant and do follow the rules. And so what we are doing now is to ensure that those persons, and once more I specify, those in the small businesses, the self-employed professionals, unincorporated businesses are the sector in which we are getting problems in terms of compliance. But I'm confident that our efforts that we are putting in place currently would assist in lowering, decreasing this non-compliance. And I want to make an appeal to persons who are conducting business or who have conducted business over the years and have not been complying with the income tax laws to do so now. We are, as I said, and in the process of identifying, but if persons come forward voluntarily, I'm confident that the department would be in a position to work with them regarding interest and penalty imposition. But if we have to go and essentially find the person, and then we would, of course, be imposing the full amount of this interest and penalty charges. So while we continue to work with persons in terms of educating them and giving them the tools to comply, I think we are slowly moving away from what is called the traditional carrot approach, that is the nice approach, to the more, posing some of the penalties on the law, that is the stick approach. And so persons will want to take note of this change in focus to compliance at the Inland Revenue Department.
The Inland Revenue Controller is also encouraging self-employed persons, professionals, and the corporate sector to prepare their relevant financial statements to support income earned, noting that it is his hope that everyone meet the deadline on Friday, March 31st, 2023. In other news now, we hear that Director of the National Insurance Services, the NIS, Stuart Haynes, has described the recent two-day technical advisory mission of the Reserves Advisory and Management Partnership RAM team of the World Bank Treasury to SVG as a fruitful engagement. RAM, which was established in 2001, is a program developed within the World Bank Treasury that builds human capital, delivers asset management services, and convenes a network of practitioners. On NBC Radio face-to-face program this week, Haynes said the principal objectives of this two-day mission were to support the NIS on designing its funding policy and conduct a peer review of the 11th actuarial report.
Look at your long-term benefit, because NIS is generational. Right. So we look at NIS over 80-year period, and the cost would increase over that 80-year period. So the conversation was around, how do we finance that growing cost of Social Security? Mm-hmm. Either by looking at contribution income and also on the benefit side. They also, because to talk about the long term, you have to look at the actuarial report. So we completed the 11th actuarial report, and the World Bank did a peer review. The actuarial report is over a 60-year period. And we had an independent actuary doing that assessment, determining how financially and actuarially healthy is NIS. And we see it fit in terms of best practice to get a peer review. It is not common across the region, but actuarial work requires significant estimates about the future. Right. And if we can get another eyes looking through our report, we see it fit to benefit from diversity of ideas. So they came and also they look at our actuarial valuation report. Also what we did, because there's one NIS in St. Vincent, then we can't do local benchmarking. We also perform some benchmarking analysis where we look at NIS in Vincent, NIS in the OECS, to basically see where we are relative to the other NIS.
Haynes also provided some of the feedbacks given by the World Bank mission on the 11th actuarial report.
Basically, it's a peer review, so you look at the data we use for our actuarial valuation. They believe the data was adequate and sufficient. They would also look at the assumptions around which we use. They're reasonable assumptions. They look at the projections. We use reasonable projections. And importantly, they're going to look at this actuarial report. Is it compliant with international best practices? And clearly, it's aligned with international best practice. The funding policy element is kind of novelty in the region. Because whilst we do actuarial reviews every 3 years, we don't have funding policy, and that to me is a centerpiece for Social Security.
Right.
So what we have now is, for instance, I see TCI working with the actuary to develop a funding policy. Grenada is also doing the same, and now St. Vincent is a bit ahead with regards to their funding policy. So what we would expect is that within 30 to 60 days, we would receive in terms of the draft funding policy. But important to note that due to our capacity locally, we basically played an instrumental role in fashioning the funding policy. The World Bank team just ensured that do a check and balance to make sure that we are aligned to what we call the International Social Security Association standards, and make sure that we are developing a funding policy that is transparent and also aligned to international best practices. So, yeah, basically, so we expect in terms of the draft report from the World Bank within 30 to 60 days, basically providing a roadmap of how we finance Social Security over the long run. And we intend also to share that funding policy with our peers in the region.
The NIS director said 5 members of the NIS management team worked along with the World Bank team and have benefited significantly from knowledge transfer, information sharing, and technical advice, which align with the objective of building capacity for the NIS.
And when we talk about building capacity, we know how to say in which areas.
Right.
We have investment, and because we partially fund Social Security. So it's important that, one, we have an investment policy, a roadmap, a framework that guide investment and ensure our investments are in keeping with good governance. Critical, and we have suitable, skilled persons at NIS SVG to basically guide the investments of the funds, and also the training extend not only to staff but to board members. Risk management, the other very important area. We operate in a very dynamic sort of environment. I mentioned that the cost of Social Security is uncertain in the long run. So clearly we have to engage in enterprise risk management. We saw what happened to the economy. We had to take account of that. We saw what happened to financial markets. We had to take account of operational risk. So we develop a risk management policy also that speaks to identifying the risk that the business face. Then after identifying the risk, you assess the risk, right, to see the likely impact on cost, on reputation. After that, what you will do is try to mitigate and manage the risk. We monitor the risk also to ensure that we have good safeguards,
Right.
and also we report on the risk. Risk management was also critical. And another area we got assistance in is sort of a actuarial modeling, so that persons in-house can build their competency in terms of actuarial assessment of financial analysis of Social Security funds. So that was also critical by the World Bank. And what is also important for us is for us to benchmark how we do business relative to international best practices.
Since 2021, the RAMP has assisted the NIS in strengthening its governance and operational frameworks in the areas of investment and risk management through the training and certifications of board and staff and the development of investment and risk policies and guidelines. The official launch and handing over ceremony of the Climate Smart Fisheries project was held here on Tuesday this week at the Chateaubriand Learning Resource Center. The Climate Smart Fisheries project is part of the Enabling a Gender-Responsive Disaster Recovery, Climate and Environmental Resilience Engendered in the Caribbean. Providing an overview of the project at the ceremony was environmental specialist in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, Nyasha Hamilton, who noted that that the Engender project commenced in March 2019 with 9 beneficiary countries, including St. Vincent and the Grenadines. She said the project is jointly funded by the governments of Canada and the United Kingdom, UNDP Barbados, in collaboration with the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency CDEMA, UN Women, and the World Food Programme, and that here in SVG, the project is being jointly implemented by the Economic Planning Division, the Gender Affairs Division, and the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO.
Appreciating that the 9 participating Caribbean countries are at different stages of removing barriers to gender equality and integrating gender-based analysis into development planning, as well as recovery from natural disasters. This project has attempted to ensure that climate change and disaster risk reduction actions are better informed by an analysis of gender inequalities, and that the decisions that are taken by governments ensure that the decisions taken by governments are reduce inequalities. Some of these underlying gender inequalities are made worse by increasingly intense and frequently experienced climate change and disaster risks within Caribbean societies. We're talking here about destruction of property, damage to assets, injury, and even loss of life. So far, the project has attempted to empower governments to take ownership of their disaster risks, and one of the most prominent ones we've had in the last couple of years in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is the eruption of La Soufrière, including improved shock responsiveness in national systems and better social protection finance tools for the most vulnerable. As such, the project's ultimate outcome is improved climate and disaster resilience for key vulnerable populations, particularly women and girls, and for future generations in the Caribbean.
Chief Fisheries Officer Jennifer Cruikshank said the part of the project here in SVG focused on the development of treachery fishery and in particular the empowerment of women and the youths who are involved in this activity. Cruikshank said the Fisheries Division in the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries thanked the UNDP for recognizing the value of the local fisheries sector through the Climate Smart project.
The treachery fishery is one of the most underdeveloped fishery in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and the North Leeward area is known as having several treachery fishing communities. There are approximately 350 registered treachery fishers in the North Leeward area and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, other areas such as Connery in the north and a few other treachery fishing communities, and yes, Bocament, essential, and 62% are women. The eruptions of the La Soufrière volcano in 2021 affected the livelihood of this group of fishers and their families tremendously, especially the females and the youths. The rivers where most of them fish were dried up, and I guess some are still are, which threatens food security, their livelihoods, economic development, and other environmental issues. The timely intervention of this project is seen as an intervention to increase the resilience of the treachery fishers to ensure the continued sustainability of livelihoods, poverty reduction, and also reducing the gender gaps by mainstreaming gender equality. The treachery fishery is also highly vulnerable to the climate change as the coastal communities are increasingly at risk from coastal hazards such as erosions and the harvesting of this delicacy to our Vincentian population, which all of us depends on the health of the rivers to do so.
Minister of National Mobilization and Gender Affairs, Dr. Orlando Brewster, thanked the various agencies involved in the project.
Treachery farming has played a significant role in Vincentian culture for many, many years. And for most part, women have led this enterprise. We would not have given much thought to this type of farming because we are more familiar with, livestock farming and, agricultural farming, produce to an extent. And for some time, Chichi have been overlooked. But I'm happy today that Engender and all of the collaborative agencies saw it fit to help the Chichi folks, not only in North Leeward, not only in North Windward, but throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I think that deserves a round of applause. On behalf of my ministry, I would like to express gratitude to all the agencies involved in this initiative, from the planning stages to the execution stages to where we are today.
Other work carried out under the project here involved preparatory work towards the restoration of Salt Whistle Bay in the southern Grenadines. The Road Management and Rural Road Improvement Program, funded under the 11th European Union Development Fund, the EDF, in partnership with the Caribbean Development Bank, was launched here on Monday. The project, totaling 6.2 million euros, will be carried out through the Ministry of Transport and Works and the Roads, Bridges and General Services Authority, BRAXA, and will construct over 5 kilometers of existing village or feeder roads with drainage and slope protection. According to the Agency for Public Information, at the launch of the project on Monday, March 27th, at the Sunset Shows, Vice President of Operations at the Caribbean Development Bank, Isaac Solomon, noted that there has been significant impact on the road network of St. Vincent and the Grenadines through natural disasters associated with climate change. Hence, emphasis will be placed on road maintenance and drainage. Solomon said it also highlights the need for climate resilient roads, particularly in rural areas, to facilitate greater rural economic activity and strengthening the country's road management and maintenance program. The European Union representative Lavia Ilavsova said though the project has had some delays due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the 2021 volcanic eruption, the European Union is grateful that the project can now commence and looks forward to further collaborating with the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Delivering the feature address, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves explained that the vagaries of climate change have impacted heavily on the development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and he is pleased to see the European community providing support for climate change-related issues here. PM Gonsalves admitted that a significant portion of rural roads are in need of repair because of the impact of climate change. In addition to this project, Budget 2023 has allocated $120 million over the next 3 years for the National Road Rehabilitation Project. The 2023 Housing and Population Census will be launched here tomorrow. The launching event will take place at the NIS conference room from 10 a.m. The Statistical Office within the Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning and Information Technology is responsible for the coordination and implementation of the Housing and Population Census. Census Day is set for June 15, 2023 under the slogan Census 2023, they counting you, they counting me. The information will benefit the whole country. The last Housing and Population Census took place in 2012. Corporal of Police Nolan Backer is advising liquor license holders not to sell alcohol beverages, spirits, nor wines to students dressed in school attire, noting that under the law there is provisions in regards to a particular age that liquor license holders are able to sell alcohol beverages to customers. Speaking on the COP Chat program on WFM today, Inspector Junior Nero said upon successfully becoming a liquor license holder, business owners are equipped with the necessary information to ensure they comply with the rules and regulations.
For example, you cannot sell horses in uniform, school uniform, college uniforms.
What is the legal drinking age?
16.
16. But a 17-year-old could be in uniform.
Yes, well, once you're in your uniform.
No, that sounds like a bit of a conflict of interest. Because legally he or she is allowed to drink.
Right, but you're in the uniform. Once you have a uniform over everything.
Okay,
On the liquor
okay.
license session, not only you would be given a speech by the presiding chairman on the day of when you get your liquor license. they would tell you there are certain do's and don'ts, what not to do. You can't have your child, and sometimes no child is supposed to be in no bar passing liquor or selling liquor, right? Supposed to be an adult, and all that is spelled out on the day of the liquor license session. They are briefed way in advance. So these are the do's and don'ts that you cannot allow at your establishment. And when the police visit your establishment as well, they would be able to, if you are faulty, police will be able to deal with you there and then to ensure that you comply with what is required. In terms of you cannot have a young child in some people just like say, send my child, go buy a
go buy me a baby, come back.
Buy me a baby.
Yeah.
That can't happen, or it should not happen.
Yes.
The owner of the establishment should not allow a child to sell, or should not sell liquor to a child.
Inspector Nero and Corporal Back outlined several criteria that applicants must have in place to obtain a liquor license.
For a liquor license, right? There are certain criteria, not only filling out the form, there are certain criteria you must follow. Right? The police, once you apply, your name would then would comes out in the Gazette. The police would be issued the names of the persons who apply for a liquor license, and that those names will be sent to the police for an investigation to be done. The police officer from the district come back to the same district. In the district, wherever the named person is living, apply for the license. The investigation must, that the person applying for liquor license must have bathroom facility and running water. That's one. Two, must not be located to no school, church, place of worship, or place of worship. So if you want to open a liquor license shop next to a church, it's a no-no from get-go.
Define next to. Like, okay, gotta go measure some stuff
so
now.
No school, it can't be located next to no school. Church, the individual must have running water, bathroom facility to take care of his patrons.
And also, while they may have all these necessities, this also has to be a place ready to open, because I'm not going to come in a place to inspect a premises and meet it just vacant, no shelves. You're not ready for business or anything like that.
Okay, so understood.
So it must be.
Addressing the penalties of operating on an expired liquor license or without a license, Corporal Baker said under Section 3, Act 1 of the law, persons can be charged and fined for operating on an expired license. And if a person is facing difficulties making the payments, he or she can apply for a discontinuation.
Under Section 3(1), you can be charged, taken to court, and a fine is implied.
How much money? Or is it dependent on what license you should have? Then you're charged with X amount of dollars?
Up to $2,000.
It's $2,000.
Yes, please.
And or the items confiscated.
Yeah, but you still have to pay. You still have to renew your license, even if the police
you get charged.
visit your place of establishment and you have paid.
For example, if you have difficulty paying and so on, you might be sick for a while, you can apply for a discontinuation. So, and later on, make sure you address it to the Commissioner of Police.
Okay.
He is the sole person in charge of this. After that, you can also apply for waiver if you wish to continue. So your fees will be waived from that date that you discontinued upon the renewal of your license.
Inspector Nero and Corporal Baker are urging liquor license holders to ensure at each quarter of the year they pay up their liquor license to avoid fines or being charged with an offense.